How's it going, guys? I'm Brandon, and this is my first impressions of Can-Am's 2020 Defender lineup. All right, guys, welcome back. I'm Brandon. We're down here in the middle of nowhere, Texas at the YL Ranch headquarters, and we're doing my first impressions of the Can-Am 2020 Defender. Now, Can-Am came out with 3 new models. Came out with the Defender 6x6, the Defender Limited, and the Defender Pro, which I got sitting right here next to me. And I gotta tell you, after spending all day in these machines, I learned quite a bit about their handling characteristics, their purpose-built features, and some of the accessories that you can throw on these to make them the machine that you want. So one thing I gotta say, that as I've been down here running through these machines, testing them out, different conditions, different use case scenarios, I kind of approached the Can-Am guys and I grilled them a little bit, and I said, you know, guys, why am I gonna be buying a 6x6 over the Defender Pro or the Defender Limited? And I had my personal preferences, but I want to hear from them why they felt like the features of the different machines outweighed them when you compare them to others and the different use case scenarios that you're going to be running through. Specifically with the Defender Pro, and you look at what you get out of the Defender 6x6 and how close they are in price, it kind of feels like Can-Am didn't want you to worry so much about the money you're going to be spending on these because they price them so closely together that, in my opinion, it almost doesn't matter when you're spending this much. They almost wanted you to worry more about where you're going to be, what it's going to be like living with these machines, how often you're going to have to maintenance them and take them through, you know, your different typical daily tasks. When you compare the Defender Pro against the Defender 6x6, you know, the Pro gives you a little bit more storage area. You have the new turf mode. You have a couple of other features I'll dive into. But when you look at how they handled, they were different in clearly different scenarios. But in my opinion, when I started looking at the concept vehicle that they had posted up there, I was like, whoa, that just kind of blew my mind. It opened it up into way more things that I hadn't considered to be able to use my Can-Am for. And as we were talking with the Can-Am guys, we kind of went through those different pieces of information. You know, how is this machine going to be different than that machine? And I ended up learning they have over 200 unique accessories for their Defender lineup, primarily using the link system. And if you don't know what the link system is, it's basically a pre-shaped hole around the machine that you can really just attach Can-Am's attachments to, primarily in the bed. But you can attach Can-Am's attachments to them and make it really your own. You can create from this Defender platform a purpose-built machine, and I thought that was pretty cool. Now, new specifically for this 2020 year, all Defender's HD10 versions get a boost in horsepower and a boost in low-end torque. The HD10 models boast an impressive 82 horsepower, while they come in with the industry-leading 69 foot-pounds of low-end torque. Now, as I was talking with the Can-Am guys, they said that this low-end torque, they wanted to make it usable in the right way. So as these machines get brought into mechanics and they plug them into the Can-Am system to run their diagnostics, Can-Am's also able to see different metrics that they can pull from this machine. And they found that 85% of the users were running their machines between the 2,500 RPM mark and the 4,000 RPM mark. So they knew they wanted to be placing that 69 foot-pounds of torque at the bottom end, clearly so everyone can be using it, but they knew the parameters and where people will enjoy it the most. Now when you jump into the cab of this machine, they have made it more usable. They moved the battery to under the seat. They upgraded the dash to an all-new digital dash in the Defender Pro and the Defender 6x6 editions with the 2 buttons on the left side that'll give the option to move through your different display information and your drive modes, which are Work, Eco Mode, and Eco Off.
All right, we're on the trail. We're out here in the middle of nowhere, Texas at the YL Ranch headquarters, testing out the new 2020 Can-Am Defenders. And I thought, what a better machine to start in than the new 6x6. Oh, look at that. a little playground. Why don't we put this puppy in a low gear? Can-Am made sure we really knew that this 6x6 was the machine to take you where you wanted to get to, not being worried about how you're going to get there. They said that this machine is primarily for those off-road runners who are looking for, wow, so easy. That wall felt like it was nothing. I got confidence now. I can't tell you how easy it is to climb up in this thing. So, what we're finding is that Can-Am's efforts are really paying off. I find it really easy to crawl over almost just about anything. What they were telling me they wanted to point out with this machine is that this is the go anywhere machine. They wanted to keep those hunters in mind who are going to go way back out in the country. You don't want to be getting stuck in mud. And as I've been driving this model and the other models, I've been noticing a few things. Really what I found is that I'm more comfortable crawling in slow to mid-range and this 6x6 than I am in the Defender Pro or the Defender Limited Edition. Really with this machine, I feel alright going just about anywhere. What I have found, surprisingly enough, is that this machine over the Defender Pro takes that square edgy terrain a lot better. Now this is the type of terrain that this machine really excels in. This slow, low range, bumpy stuff. We're running down the bottom of this riverbed really with no issues. 13 inches of ground clearance that runs across all of these machines is really noticeable when you want to run through stuff like this. Here we go. Now here's some tight corners where you'd think running a longer wheelbase you might have some issues, but honestly I really just don't. Now what I have found that the Defender Pro and the Defender 6x6 differ substantially is the way that they eat up the bumps and the more square edgy terrain that I come up on. With the Defender Pro, I find the square edgy terrain to be a little abrupt. I feel like I have a lot more front end bump. I feel like it doesn't want to absorb it quite as nicely. Whereas the 6x6, I hit the same terrain, ran up through the same paces twice, and the 6x6 just swallows up that square edge terrain like it's not even there. Now that might be because of the shorter distance between the front and the first set of rear tires, but I really found that the 6x6 overall gives you a more comfortable drive. I could easily find myself spending all day in this seat and being just as happy to start it again the next day. Now we got a little bit of a hill in front of us, and as I was playing around with the different drive modes, I really wanted to see if I could figure out if they're actually doing anything before I went and talked to the Can-Am guys to really get an understanding of what's going on. But as I was toggling through these drive modes, I got the work mode. Let's give it a go.
Now what the work mode is they've taken the input to the throttle and they've given a broader range of where you can have that throttle position before you actually change the throttle input. So if you're in the cab and you're running some maybe rough, rocky terrain and you're bumping around a little bit and your foot's moving around on the pedal, you're going to still maintain that consistent RPMs or the throttle input so you can maintain that speed fairly easy. They also told me you could use the work mode for more aggressive hill climbing. Now as I tried that out, I gotta say I didn't feel like I noticed a difference. Sometimes I actually preferred not to be using it because when I felt like I was getting myself in more of a sticky situation and I wanted to romp on it just a little bit more to get a little bit more aggressive response out of the throttle, I felt like almost like the power wasn't there. And clearly it was, but the work mode was just compartmentalizing my throttle positions, so I wasn't getting the immediate throttle response that I was used to getting in those tight and sticky situations.
Now I'm up out of that, I'll go back into my high gear and go to my eco off mode. Woo-hoo! There is one thing I can confidently say I don't feel does its design purpose, and that is the dynamic power steering. Now, in my opinion, ultimately it was designed to be a safety feature over a performance feature. Fair enough. And what I found though, that the Defender Pro and Defender Limited, both of those additions, it works great. I do feel like it's understeering a little bit, and I have to overcompensate with more wheel turn, but I got used to it, no problem. However, in the 6x6, I don't know what it is, if it's that extra drag on the wheelbase, or it's the fact that those 4 tires want to push the front of this machine around. I feel like I have to work way harder to get this thing to point where I want it to at higher speeds. And I don't feel like it actually helps me feel safer. I'm coming around a turn, sometimes an unexpected obstacle will show up, turn, or I have to make that slight correction to avoid a small obstacle. I end up finding myself having to do twice the work to turn the tires to get around it, which ultimately decreases my responsiveness and makes me feel like I'm less in control of this machine than all the others. But as long as you're straight shooting it, this is a comfortable ride. Welcome to the Can-Am Defender Limited, Can-Am's premium addition to their lineup. Now, what a lot of companies try to do is to try to be creative, innovative, and bring a lot to the table when it comes to their product and how it stacks up against others in the industry. And there are a lot of great options out there. I gotta say, for this particular experience that I'm having with the Defender Limited, I'm impressed. Now, I've run through a number of enclosures, everything from the soft top, soft doors, to automotive grade windshields, and doors that attempt to seal. And I'm going to say that this is by far the best cab experience I have ever had in a side-by-side.
Now, all the 2020 Defenders receive firewall upgrades. The front firewall, the rear firewall, and in general, they just plugged every hole that heat, cold air, and dust could get through. And wow, for the Defender Pro and the Defender 6x6, they reduced cab noise by 40%. That is, to me, pretty incredible. I found myself being able to have not yelling conversations in the cab of an open cockpit UTV. But however, when you jump into the Defender Limited, there is a noticeable difference. When you're sitting in that cockpit, you have up to 60% reduced noise from the engine and exterior components. But one thing I did notice was how everything else sounded. All those normal squeaks and rumbles and the thud of your tires running down the road, that stuff became much more apparent. But honestly, I would trade that out for the noise reduction. Now, if you're in more to working and hunting scenarios and you use the extra storage that the Defender Pro has, or the turf mode, or you can use the extra towing capacity and the bed strength from the Defender 6x6, well, it makes sense that you'll head in that direction. But the Defender Limited really kind of takes you off into another arena.
Now let me take you through some of the experiences that you're going to have if you end up purchasing this limited Can-Am Defender. One of my favorite features has got to be the functional variable compressor AC unit. This thing, it's strong, it's powerful. I have set the minimum on the lowest temperature setting right now. We're out in the middle of Texas. It's 100 degrees outside. But if I want to swap that, you can hear it kick on, and boom, I probably would kick the temperature up a little bit. But one of the most impressive things that you got is auto climate control. I'm sitting here, want to hit in that 70 degrees? I got it. But in this limited edition that you don't get in the Defender Pro or the 6x6 is this button toggle here. Now you don't have these buttons that take up the sides of your display. You have a wider display. But if you want to swap between your drive modes, boom, push of a button. Eco off, work mode, or eco mode. You can swap between your battery voltage, your settings, your RPM, speed stats. Also with your climate control, it comes with defrost vents. The other thing you got, power windows. And nice, and they were kind enough to think about us knowing that we might not want to reach across the cab to put down the other window. You got a carpeted roof with a light LED switch that's fairly bright. It's middle of the day, shine down pretty good. You got an automotive grade rear window, front windshield, your wiper, and I'll open up this door here. You have a door pouch. Looks like you could fit a drink in there. It's fairly large. And then right here, sitting in the driver's seat, you have a few creature comforts. You have the ability to really kick your steering wheel up. You got a parking brake down here with different settings. And you can slide your seat back and forth, as well as being able to open up your windshield. We're in pretty rocky terrain, and that windshield seems to hold up pretty well. It does have quite a big wiggle, but it does stay up. Whoa! Ow! Got a little, oh man, we must be sitting lower in this machine. We are definitely sitting lower in this machine. Now, granted, with all those contact points on the ground that I found comfort in on the 6x6, it really made a huge difference driving that 6x6 through there. And I didn't recognize it until I got into this machine. Man, I felt like this machine sat a little bit lower. I felt like this machine didn't clear some of those bigger rocks the same way the 6x6 did. I also felt like the suspension was a little bit more dynamic, and here I got tossed around a little bit. But with this shorter wheelbase, my steering is substantially better. Now to hop out of this thing for a minute and take a walk around on the outside. One thing I want to point out is this cab filter. Now, when you're spending the money to have a nice experience, and let's say this is another machine, you've put an enclosure on it, whether it's soft, whether you got your polycarbonate on windshields, you have full glass, you have a premium interior, very comfortable. But with any other type of enclosure, even if it tries to do its job of being airtight, you still have issues with the front firewall, the rear firewall, and the floor panels all being exposed to the outside and letting in dirt and dust. What you are not getting with this machine is those elements on the inside. And that is primarily due to them redesigning the firewalls on the floor to give you an enclosed experience and throwing this puppy on there for good measure. Now, that being said, new for this 2020 year, all editions are getting a bus bar upgrade. I think this is something that has been a long time needed for Can-Ams, and I'm glad that as they not only develop the premium offering, but the offering that they're giving to all the other customers as they buy the HG10s the 2020 year, that they're going to have a better experience overall as they continue to accessorize their machines. Now, let me put this on real quick. But one thing I want to point out as we get around to this other side of the machine, number one, super easy to rock that back. I really appreciate that they think of functionality as they develop these items. And speaking of functionality, check this out. I pull out this little pin, boom, and I get just that much more access to work on anything at the rear of this vehicle. Alright, well, let me just put that back in. Let's see how easy this is. Oh, don't drop that next to the hot engine. Not too bad. And boom, just like that. Back and ready to go. Okay. Oh, and one last thing. High and low beams, and then super aggressive looking running lights. Let's see if I can get back here. I love that they did that. That looks so good. Be the coolest kid on the block when you drive up with this machine. Oh, check that out. Cab is cool. because the AC's running. Throw my seatbelt on. I have to still deal with that stupid net. Start this bad boy. Let's roll. Last but not least, the Defender Pro. Now I love what they're doing with the Defender platform. They're giving you a wide variety of vehicles under one umbrella. You got the 6x6, you got the Defender Pro, you got the Defender Limited, then you have the regular Defender. All of these have a number of different purposes. They give you a number of different experiences. What Can-Am's ultimately allowing me to do is customize my vehicle in the way that I want to have it. There's a number of things to consider. Where are you going to go? Why are you going to go there? What or who are you bringing with you? Because if your crew's more than 2, it's a clear decision you want to take the max out. But if your crew is only 2 or you're just riding solo, well, things change quite a bit. At that point, you need to consider, am I going to experience primarily manicured roads? Or am I going to be off bush beating a little bit? If I was going to go out hunt, and I knew that I was going to be going through some rough terrain, and I want to go a lot farther than just my truck can take me, well, I'm hopping in the 6x6 to get out to those trails where I'm going to be dealing with a lot hairier conditions than normal. But on the other hand, if I'm going out and I'm trying to weave my way through a forest, I don't know if I'm going to say the 6x6 is what's going to be the best option for me. Now, it had me ask myself, really, where does the Defender Pro come in the lineup? Because if I want a good ride, well, the Defender Pro with its longer wheelbase, it offers that. But do I really want a longer wheelbase over AC, no dust enclosure, heating options, windshield wipers, and the premium fit and finish? Well, I don't think a longer wheelbase is really going to beat that out. And where does it come in against the 6x6? Well, 6x6 has a longer wheelbase. You can add the limited upgrades to both of these machines, so there's no difference there. The 6x6 could tow 500 pounds more than this machine. This machine is rated for 2,500 pounds, and the 6x6 is rated for 3,000 pounds, and the 6x6 can hold 250 pounds more on its bed. Defender Pro comes in at 1,500 pounds, and the 6x6 comes in at 1,750. So again, it left me with a big question mark. Why would I want this machine when I can upgrade it to get the Defender Limited, or I just go out and buy the 6x6? Now, some people are penny pinchers. That's not the question I'm trying to answer here. I'm trying to answer, why is this machine valuable for you to purchase? Okay, so I need to answer one question. You have the Defender Limited, and you have the Defender Pro, and you have the Defender 6x6. Why would you buy the Defender Pro? The 6x6 costs a little bit more. That's the downside. But the performance, the driving characteristics, the extra towing and load capacity on one hand, it really justifies that cost. On the other hand, you have that premium experience with the Defender Limited, giving you an incredibly comfortable ride. So you got now the Defender Pro, which is, not either necessarily the best of either of those. So it left me really needing to think about the reasons why I would want to purchase this over these other options. If I had to pick one standout feature about the Defender Pro, that would leave me picking the Defender Pro over the 6x6, because I think those two are really the ones that compare the best. The number one reason that I would buy this machine over the 6x6 is this. Now, this is a Defender Max frame, which means that there's normally a footwell here. So they turn that into storage space that goes all the way through and is accessible from both sides. This is an 86-gallon storage space. Number one reason why I would pick this machine over the 6x6. And outside of that, you got to ask yourself, what are you really using your machine for? Because you have the Defender platform. You don't need to stop there with your additions and your accessories. They made it easier to add electronic accessories. They made it easy to add physical accessories. They give you a great platform. They want you to be involved with your machine. They want you to make it yours. And I think that's something that says a lot about Can-Am when they're giving you the ability to alter the base of the machine so much.
Now you might think that Can-Am's technically 979cc engine wouldn't be as powerful as the other 999cc engines that are out there. And the old adage goes, there's no replacement for displacement, but Can-Am might have proven us wrong there. They come in to match the 82 horsepower that the other industry-leading machines are putting out, but Can-Am is leading the industry with the 69 foot-pounds of torque. I believe that's 7 foot-pounds more than the next closest competitor. Now, after all day long running in the Defender Limited, the Defender Pro, and the Defender 6x6, for me it really came down to two things. Between the outdoor recreation that I personally like to pursue and the workhorse that this Defender Pro could be, I would think that I'm probably leaning more towards the Defender 6x6. And let me explain that. Now, while the Defender Pro would be the better option if I was going strictly work, a big thing for me is being able to get way out and to not get stuck. Now, one issue with extended body wheelbases is that you can get high centered easy, and if you've ever been solo driving especially and you get high centered, that's not good. But what I found in the 6x6, I could crawl up pretty much just about anything. Now, as I looked at the concept vehicle and I looked at the 6x6, it's like that is my perfect best of both worlds machine. I would take the 6x6 and I would accessorize it in the way that supports the type of riding that I like to do. Personally, I'd build it out as a UTV bug out machine, but what machine would you get and how would you use it? If you've not been to our channel before, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you can see what kind of videos we're constantly putting out. Super awesome stuff. We appreciate you guys. If you have any thoughts or comments, please leave them in the comment section below, and we'll catch you later.